What's going on, guys? Welcome to week number 3 of TPI Tuesdays. I'm Matt Santoro. I'm a doctor of physical therapy as well as a TPI certified medical practitioner. Now today on TPI Tuesdays, we're going to be talking about the pelvis. So let's get started with some anatomy as always. The pelvis is a group of 6 bones. You have 3 on the right, 3 on the left. You have your ilium, which is the bone if you put your hands on your hips, you'll feel right up at the top. You have your ischium, which is when you sit down, if you feel a hard bone right under your backside, that's going to be your ischium. You have one on the right and one on the left. And lastly, you have the pubis, which comes in through the front. Now, the pelvis wouldn't exactly be complete with only those 3 bones on each side. What we need is the sacrum, which is a connection from your lower spine into the pelvis. The sacrum helps to connect the ilium on the right to the ilium on the left to create a nice oval shape that is the pelvis. Now, there are 45 muscles that connect to the pelvis. So going over those one by one wouldn't exactly be very conducive to getting this video in between 5 and 10 minutes. So we're just going to talk about some groups. You have your pelvic floor muscles, which are exactly that. They create the bottom of the pelvis. You have your hip muscles, which create movement at the hip, so flexion coming forward, extension going backwards, abduction, which is out to the side, or adduction, which is going across midline, as well as some hip rotation internally and externally. Additionally, you have your core musculature, which connects to the pelvis. So things like your abdominals, the low back extensors, and even your lats have some insertions on the pelvis. Now, the pelvis is capable of a couple different motions, mainly rotation, which is twisting to the right and to the left, as well as tilt. So with a pelvic tilt, your pelvis is able to rock forward or create an anterior pelvic tilt, or rock backwards, which is a posterior pelvic tilt. In the golf swing, the pelvis is incredibly important because it initiates the backswing as well as the downswing. The pelvis also creates a ton of power. So if you think about guys like Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, or Rory McIlroy, watch their swings, and right before impact, you're going to see their pelvis rotate from an anterior position back into a posterior position. That helps give these guys incredible length off the tee. Additionally, the pelvis is very important in maintaining posture from address all the way through impact and through the rest of the downswing, as well as stabilizing the thoracic spine to begin rotation after the pelvis has started to slow down a little bit. Now, in life, you're going to see some similar things. The pelvis is very important for maintaining posture. It also helps to create movement transfer from the upper body to the lower body, which makes walking so efficient. Now, some inadequacies that we can see as a result of the pelvis in the golf swing will be poor sequencing or poor dissociation. So if the golfer begins the swing with their upper body, we're going to see things like coming over the top because the shaft isn't able to drop down into the slot once the pelvis starts to move. Additionally, we're going to see things like losing distance and losing power if the pelvis isn't able to rotate backwards just like it does for Rory and Dustin and Justin. And lastly, we're going to see a loss of posture. So things like early extension, which we discussed in week 1, and a reverse spine angle, which we discussed last week when we were talking about the thoracic spine. Now, in life, pelvis dysfunction can result in some low back pain. Again, like we talked last week, the lumbar spine or the low back is going to try to compensate for what the pelvis isn't able to do. And let's say the pelvis is tilted forward like it is in the lower cross syndrome, which we talked about week 1. Some of the lumbar spine is going to rock into each other, creating a lot of friction and a lot of pressure. The body's not going to like that, so it's going to send a warning signal in the form of pain. So I'm going to go get my gym clothes on. We're going to talk to you guys in a minute about some fixes. I'll see you soon. All right, guys, welcome back to the fixes component of the pelvis talk. So what we're going to be looking at today is some ways to gain some control over pelvic tilt, tilting backwards and forwards. So the action for this exercise is fairly subtle. So seeing it on this exercise or this video might be a little bit different. But what we're going to do is we're going to give you some cues that you can use to feel the exercise a little bit better. So to work a posterior pelvic tilt, which is the exercise that we're going to be talking about today, we're going to have you laying down on a floor, a table, a mat, whatever it may be, with the knees bent up. That's going to help protect the lumbar spine. We're going to have you take your index fingers and put them on the two pointy hip bones right in the front, and they're going to stay there for the entire exercise. So what you should feel is that you're able to use your core muscles, your abdominals, to take your pelvis and rotate it backwards and hold it in that position. So what I want you to make sure you're doing while you do this is that you're not pressing with the legs. The legs should be fairly passive and just hanging out with the feet flat on the floor. So let's show you what one of these looks like. You're going to lie back, feet flat on the floor, and take your index fingers, put them on the two pointy hip bones in the front, and then using your core muscles, you're going to tilt backwards, flattening your low back against the mat here. Hold that for 10 seconds, and then come on up. Now we're going to have you repeat that. So index fingers stay right where they were, rotate backwards. So as I do this, I can talk, I can breathe, and I can feel that those two pointy hip bones have slid closer to my head. After 10 seconds, I relax. Once you become proficient at that movement, we can challenge you a little bit more by taking away some of the stability of lying down. What we'll have you do is move up into a kneeling position. Again, index fingers on those pointy hip bones, tilt back, hold that for 10 seconds, and then relax. Each of these you should do for 10 times, holding it for 10 seconds, so about 1:40 per set. Once you're proficient at the kneeling position, you could go into standing. Do the same thing, tilt back, tilt forward, and lastly for my golfers out there, get into your address position, cross the arms, and now rotate your pelvis or tilt your pelvis in this position. By doing this, we're going to generate some more control of the pelvis, some more control of the core musculature, and that's going to create some great power, great distance, as well as great posture. So as always, if you guys want some more information, all you have to do is leave a comment down below. We'll get back to you as soon as we can, or you could just give us a call. Our phone number is 732-720-2566. I'll see you guys next week on TPI Tuesday.